Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't wanna miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats, you know that we gotta run it back. Whether on the field or the court, you know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.
All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another Live Wire Sports Media Update. Now, as I have been looking throughout the free agency, and we have talked about the core situation with the Indiana Fever, how much money they have to spend this year, now versus what they had in 2024, because they didn't have cap space. They have more cap space this time around than anything. They have over 600,000, enough to sign Kelsey Mitchell and enough to bring in a player of Satou Sabally. Now, there's been some rumblings, there's been some news about a lot of different things, a lot of different scenarios. I heard today that the Dallas Wings might not core Satou. Now, if that's the case, then the Fever could easily just go ahead and sign her without I have to trade, without I have to give up a first round pick or anything like that. But if that's not the case, then they will have to make a trade for her. Some people saying that the Fever have 2 first round picks, the number 8 and number 20. But when you look on the rounds of the picks, there's 3 rounds and they have the number 20 pick, that's a second round pick. But if it is a first round pick, then so be it. So then what they could use with that, what they can do with that 20 pick, try to move up somewhere in the top 15 in the draft, especially knowing that the Los Angeles Aces don't have a pick, but who knows? And so this brings me to my conclusion on a lot of things. We already know today, we have heard that the Vegas Aces has cored Kelsey Plum, which we already know that. We know that the Chicago Sky has tendered a couple of their players as well. But I went digging in my archives a few months back when I was started talking about free agency and who the players that the Indiana Fever could look at potentially before we started even getting into the Satou Sabally thing. What players could have fit the mold. And this was way before we knew Stephanie White was leaving Connecticut. I was already in the process of saying, hey, this is because we didn't know that Stephanie White was going to be available. We didn't know that a lot of us thought Chrissy Sides was going to come back. So when I did the video, I did it in mind of thinking Chrissy Sides was going to still be there. But lo and behold, today was very interesting because I had got a new subscriber, and he said he just came across my channel, and he dropped a scenario that I have talked about way back when. And I want to give him a shout out on the channel for doing this, because this is what I like. This is where I really appreciate when new subscribers or people who come across my channel or people who see me on other content creators channel and chop it up, and they come to my channel and they listen to my takes as well. And I really appreciate it. So this is the gentleman right here. I want to pull his information up real quick. All right. So his name is Kevin T93, and he said this. He said, "Hey, I discovered your channel." He said, and this is what he said. He said, Indiana shouldn't do a trade with Satou in his opinion. He said they had to give up a lot for a player who may only be here for 1 year, which I totally agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. Because the fact of the matter is, you got to look at what the Fever wants to draft or how they're going to draft players and how they're going to bring it. So he said, and she's not sure to play a whole season with her history of injury. And that was another big thing that a lot of people has been bringing up as well about Satou and her injury, because even though she came back, she only played 17 games last year, but her 17 games was more impressive. And I'm going to say this because I need to get this out. Her 17 games was more impressive than Leonie Fevich. Satou is a way better player than Leonie Fevich. Leonie Fevich is a rookie. She got the opportunity because Vandersloot wasn't wasn't producing. And she was a key part of them winning. Not just her, but Satou's sister, Nara, she was a key point down the stretch as well. So I don't see where she did anything, because what she does, Satou could do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just a point of emphasis of that you can't, Satou, when she's healthy, she's one of the best in the game. But she has been injured as well, and that kind of limit her. Now she's 26 years old, she's still young and everything like that. But so this news scribe, he went on to say, he said, hey, they should take a look at Izzy Harris from the Sky and Nia Kurtz from LA. As for, and before I read it anymore, I'm gonna stop. This is where it gets interesting, because I had said this months ago about Izzy, and I went back to watch some highlights of her this year. She played on the floor with Angel Reese. Yeah, she has a history. Excuse me. She had her injury history too, but she battled herself back. She hasn't played overseas in 3 years, but she has the same skill set as Satou. She might not have the passing ability of Satou. She could shoot the three. She could cut, but she's more of an inside-outside person. And when some of the video that I've seen with Izzy Harris is that when she was on the floor with Angel will play the center, Izzy will play the power forward position, but she will also move out. She will be at the top of the key and she never clogged the paint. And that's something that we always fuss at about Nalissa Smith. She always clogged the paint when we have a Leah Boston down low and you don't have enough spread coverage on the floor. And Nalissa Smith is not a great three-point shooter. Izzy Harris is. Now, her three-point shooting percentage was down this year because she was off the bench. If she was a starter or was a valuable key component for the bench, then her percentage would have went up. So I'm not going to knock her on that, because she has shown that she could hit down the open shots when she's open, and she could play the inside and outside game. She can score, and she could pass. Now, for Kia Nurse has played for Seattle. She also played she's with the Sparks right now, but she's a free agent. This is another person that I had talked about. And I say that Kia Nurse, could be a very backup point guard for Caitlin Clark. And she could be a viable backup for Kelsey Mitchell too, if Kelsey Mitchell, stays. Because then when you take Kelsey off the floor, you could get Kelsey that rest. You could utilize whoever you want to either give Clark a break or give Mitchell a break. And I think Kia Nurse, she's an excellent outside three-point shooter too. She ran the point for the Sparks, with her, Diego Hamby, and all of them. So she has played her part. And she's what? She's just right there, 30, 31 as well. You don't have to keep her. You don't even have to keep Izzy another year. You just want them to be bench productions to give your bench a little more strength. Something that I have harped about a lot is about the bench, regardless of who your starting five is, you still need bench production because the Washington Mystics was the league leader in bench production this year, and they were scoring over 30 points. When they played us the last game of the season, they did that. They scored 30 points. You know what I'm saying? Off the bench. So you need great bench production and defense, and also scoring as well. So now Kevin also went on to say in this little clip, and I'm gonna pull it up one more time so y'all can follow along with me. So yeah, I could read it, but y'all, I want y'all to look at the screen as well. All right. So he said, as for Nilissa Smith, you make a trade for her plus Wallace for Sophia Cunningham from Phoenix. Now that's another person that we have talked about, also Sophia Cunningham. Now I'm gonna pull up something real quick because I want y'all to see this. Now this is my outline template thumbnail for this video. If you notice, I have Kia Nurse on here twice, right? Because one side is option A with Satou and Janelle Solange and Kia Nurse. And the other side is Ariel Powers, Izzy Harris, and Kia Nurse. And I'm guessing y'all wonder why, well, hey, why you got two separate sides? Why you got Kia Nurse on both sides? Because you know what? Say, for instance, if the Indiana Fever does make a trade for trade Nilissa Smith, and she does trade Wallace as well, or you could trade Grace Berger. You could bring in a Kia Nurse to take Grace Berger's spot. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, because you giving Grace Berger opportunity to flourish somewhere else and everything like that. You keep Wallace just for injury purpose if something was to happen. But you bring Kia Nurse in to run that. Or you get, like he said, you get rid of Nilissa Smith and Wallace, then you still got Grace Berger on the books. Grace Berger could be that point guard for Caitlin, and then Kia Nurse could be that shooting guard for Kelsey Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? Then you still have production, and then you can mix and match however you want to do it. And now, if you was to try to bring Sophie Cunningham in, then that means you would have to, instead of going with option one, where I have Kia Nurse, Janelle Solange, and Satou Sabally. And the reason why I will have Satou Sabally, because you will end up making a trade for her. So therefore, you have to pick up free agents. So Janelle Solange, you will bring her from overseas because she also could fit in a starting lineup. Then you could probably even have Lexi coming off the bench, Kia Nurse coming off the bench, Grace Berger coming off the bench, Dunton's coming off the bench, Katie Lou Sandwiches coming off the bench. And then say if you was able to get another veteran or somebody, I would go for, if you wanted more defense, I would get like somebody like, and if you say, for instance, if you did bring Sophie Cunningham in, you bring Sophie Cunningham off the bench. Now, but you won't be able to get Sophie Cunningham with option A with Satou Sabally, but you still could probably get Sophie Cunningham with option B. So with this is that you think about it. You try to make a trade with Wallace, because I think Grace Berger will probably Phoenix will want Grace Berger, to be honest with you. Phoenix will probably want Grace Berger in that deal with Nilissa Smith if you send her to Phoenix, because Phoenix is going to be at the bottom of the barrel soon, because Diana Taurasi is going to be not suspended. Oh man, that would be funny if she did get suspended this year. on her retirement run. So, and she's gonna be retiring. Brittany Griner won't be there, and then Sophie Cunningham is only on a 1 year deal. So you could, if you make a trade for her, what you gonna give up for her? You know what I'm saying? You could give up what, your third round pick for her, because she's on a 1 year deal. You could bring her to the bench, but then you got to think about this: you only getting her for 1 year because then she's going to be a free agent in 2026. So that probably wouldn't work in that sense. So therefore, you could not waste a pick trying to draft or trying to trade for Sophie Cunningham, but you could get Ariel Powers. Ariel Powers could do the same thing Sophie Cunningham hit. She could hit some threes, but I like Ariel Powers because she's a dog. She's very good on defense. She's get up engine. She's one of them ones that, that's going to, you know, not take nothing from nobody. So I love the option B better with Kia Nurse, Izzy Harris, and Ariel Powers because you're not really spending too much money on neither one of them. And then you keep your draft picks, all three of your draft picks this year. Then you pick up, say for instance, who you get. You could get Savik, you draft her. Then you got two young talents, Janelle Solange, and you got Savik under contract. You ain't got to worry about them because then they don't have to sign a 1 year deal. You don't have to. Now, if Janelle Solange decides to sign a 1 year deal, that's a whole different thing. But if she doesn't sign a 1 year deal and you can sign her to a 3 year contract, then you're drafting Savik. Then you got young talent all across the board, a team that's going to mesh together, be together. Now, like I said, with Kia Nurse, she'll be a valuable backup. Um, then he also went on to say that with Lexi Hall, who will be still cheap, in her last year, was one of the best scorers off the bench last year, a good defender, and she, we all know she likes Caitlin Clark. They mermaid twins, so. And then you got Erica Wheelan Wallace, go with we're friends with their coach sides, you know what I'm saying? And then give Berger a chance, who to me can bring points from a team. And that still makes sense too. Because then, if you could get rid of, like if you still could get rid of Nalissa Smith and Wallace, that would be perfect. That would be really perfect, because Katie Lou still got another year or so on her contract. So she's in a contract year herself. She's going to be looking to get paid. And most likely, this might be Katie Lou Samuelson last year with the Indiana Fever. Me personally, I would try to shop her just to see if I could still get rid of her. Me personally, if you wanted to trade for somebody like a Sophie Cunningham, I would trade Katie Lou Samuelson. I would put her in a trade to see if you could get her with Phoenix. Or I would try to trade her back to LA for a pick, a late round pick. Trade her and get LA second round pick or they third round pick. That's what I would try to do. See if they want to pick her up because LA will be able to do it because they gonna have a bunch of rookie contracts. Katie Lou will be back in LA or whatever the case may be. So now he also put his lineup up. He said number 1 with Clark, 2 Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Kia Nurse, Boston, Berger, Cunningham, and Harris. Then you got Samuelson, Dantes, Saxon. You might end up cutting her because if you draft somebody like Savik, you ain't gonna need Victoria Saxon. You won't need her at all. And that's your 11th spot right there. And then you're going to still have other rookies that you're going to be picking with number 20 pick and somebody in the third round. So, and then honestly, you might end up cutting Dantes too in that sense. So there's a lot of work that the Indiana Fever could do to save money because knowing that 2026, you're going to have a lot of free agents to jump aboard. and you don't want to spend up all your money trying to sign a bunch of people that might not be there. Now, I gave two options. I gave a bunch of scenarios. I like option one because you could still plug in Janelle Salon. Or honestly, even if you didn't pick up a Izzy Harris in option two, you still could pick Janelle Salons up. Janelle Salons could fit right in that same role that you will get Satou Sabally for. She will be an automatic starter right off the bench. I mean, not off the bench, but automatic starter on the team because she can move out the basketball. She could shoot threes. She could play defense. She could cut. She could slash. So you already will have somebody there in Satu's spot. Then, like I said, you could fill out all the other positions. I just really think that at the end of the day, the Indiana Fever has so much options that they could look at. I agree with Kevin a lot because I do believe the Indiana Fever. I do believe I think they're gonna end up getting Satu. Two, I'm not against them not getting her. To be honest with you, because of the fact of 2026 still has a play. And then you don't know if Satou Sabally is going to stay with the Fever if they did trade for her. Because then you think about it. You give up your number 8 pick for Satou, and then she leaves next year. Because the thing about it is you're gonna have to core her to keep her still. Now she'll say, I will stay, but if she said, well, because the New York Liberty going after this year, they're gonna have a lot of decisions to make, and they're gonna have a lot of empty spaces that they're gonna have to fill. So Satou said, well, next year in 2026, I'm gonna go play with my sister. So she just see what Satou's trying to do is find a landing spot that's going to benefit her for this year. And then next year, she already know that the money is going to be bigger. So I'm like, oh, I could go to New York. I could get paid, boom, 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 blase, blase. So me personally, no, I don't believe that the Indiana Fever should trade for her. At the end of the day, I think you could bring over Janelle Solange. I think you could draft Aja Savik, because they both got the same skill set as Satu. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about injury prone. You can still pick up a person like Kia Nurse, who's a free agent off the bench, Ariel Powers, Izzy, because Savik could be more important next year than she will be this year, and she could sit on the bench and learn. Now you might want to put it in at times. Then I would use Izzy Harris off the bench a little bit, Ariel Powers to come in and play. She could spare Lexi Hall. You could move Lexi Hall back to the starting lineup. If you had a lineup like this, Caitlin Boston Mitchell, Janelle Solange, and Lexi Hall. That's a good starting five. That's a really good starting five. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Nobody has a lot of scouting on Janelle Solange at all. A lot of people do have scouting on her, on Satu, but not Janelle Solange. And she could play. She's really good. If people have not seen video of Janelle, then y'all need to watch video of her because she's really good. So me personally, I really feel like the Indiana Fever has a way better option two than it is one, because they could save more money. Their salary cap will be bigger next year. Then they could pay people for that long term. Because after they sign them in that 2026, they could sign them to 3-year contracts. They decided to say, well, I want to sign 1-year contract. 1-year contracts. Then that's crazy. But me personally, I go with option A. And I want to give Kevin a shout out for bringing it to my attention, and welcome to the channel as well. So, but like I say, there's option A, option B. I think option B is a little bit better. I could just move Janelle Solange into option B, not worrying about anything. You have Kia Nurse, and you could either bring in an Ariel Powers, you could bring in Isabel Harrison. There's so many situations how you can mix and match option B. So, but like I said again, we don't know until we know about if Kelsey Mitchell is going to stay. A lot of people thinking that, hey, Kelsey Mitchell won't stay. I mean, there's a chance she might not stay. But like I said again, the Indiana Fever is in a prime position because they can they could get people to make a deep playoff run this year. Now, if they go all out Satou and she doesn't stay and you lose that number 8 pick, then guess that's going to happen to you. Yeah. So I think to alleviate that financial burden, I think they go and get some good quality players that could score, play defense, or whatever the case may be, and not have to overpay for people, and still have that money to come off the books next year, and your salary cap goes even higher, and then you could just hit whoever. Like I said, again, if they get Janelle Solange and able to lock her up, then you have one of the brightest young talents there, and drafting Asia Savic as well, somebody that I did videos on too as well. Bringing somebody like an Ariel Powell for defensive purposes, Kia Nurse for backup point guard. Then you got Grace Berger on the bench as well. You gonna have a great bench and a great starting lineup. Then you don't have to worry about the bench not scoring points, and that's one of my biggest issues. So I went on a little bit long, but hey, I just feel like at the end of the day, the Indiana Fever has options. I'm not gonna say, hey, this person's better than that person, or they should get this person. I'm not gonna do all that. I'm making realistic scenarios that can help the Indiana Fever this year, because the next year is going to be another free fall for free agents, and we don't need to overspend money or spend money just to get a player who might not want to stay for the long haul. Now, if they trade for Satou and they get a commitment from her that she wants to stay beyond another 1 year, or once she wants to sign back next year and try to get a bigger pay, then hey, that's something they work out and put it in written language. But until then, we just have to wait and see. So there's been no movement today on the Indiana Fever part, especially dealing with Kelsey Mitchell. Hopefully tomorrow there will be something, or we'll see. They got it until the 20th, so we'll know. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and keep them bells ringing every time I drop a hardcore video. Until the next episode, I'm out.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats, you know that we gotta run it back. Whether on the field or the court, you know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.